All right, let's get into it. Franz, good morning.
Good morning, folks. Good morning. Sad state of affairs.
It absolutely is. We got a lot of ground to cover, and I want to be very careful as we cover that ground because a lot happened here, and
Right.
a lot of it is just absolutely horrific, and a lot of it, there's going to be distinctions from a legal perspective along the way. So, when I say, can a bar be held liable when a girl gets raped and murdered? I'm not saying you accuse the bar of rape.
Right.
That's just not a thing.
So I think that this conversation, I think conversations with regard to criminal liability, accountability for the bar is not so much the rape, right? Rapists rape. Bars don't rape.
Correct.
It's not, that's not it. It's the general overarching criminal liability, and more specifically, what crimes could individuals in the bar be charged with?
Right.
So walking through this, what we know is that a 19-year-old young lady, LSU student, goes to a bar in Tigerland. Is it Reggie's?
Yes.
So goes into Reggie's. Now, showed an ID, didn't show an ID. I don't know the answer to that. If they showed it,
I've heard conflicting reports about that as well.
So that's the first starting point in the analysis.
Mm-hmm.
If she wasn't carded and she was allowed to drink, that's a big, huge red flag.
Right.
If she showed an ID and it appeared to be a valid legal ID, well, we can check that box off.
Right.
Goes to the bar, drinks copious amounts of booze, was maybe given booze, bought booze. Don't know the answer to that. The second question is was she so drunk that a bartender, a manager, someone who's employed by Reggie's should have stepped in and said, "No more, ma'am."
Right. And this is where it gets tricky, doesn't it?
It wouldn't have, would that, but by that point, would it have prevented anything? Not necessarily. She's so drunk that she should have been cut off means that she's so drunk that she could have been raped.
0.319 is kind of a ridiculous level.
But we can get to that.
You can get cut off well before that.
So I don't know anything. As you know, I have a little bit of experience with alcohol and alcohol cases. I will say, we need to know more about her medical history. We need to know more about her size, shape. But that is a extremely high BAC.
Darn near 4 times the legal limit.
Right. So then the next question is, and I mean this with the utmost respect to her as a victim. I mean this with the utmost respect to her parents and her family. The next question in the analysis has to be, do we hold her accountable on any level to negate the criminal liability because she's underage in a place she shouldn't be? She knew she shouldn't have been there, and she was doing something in there that she shouldn't have been doing. And the liability I'm mainly looking at is her injury, the death. That's the injury. That's the liability I'm mainly looking at, right? Like Reggie's, I do not think Reggie should or could be held accountable for the rape.
No, of course not. I don't know that you can.
Right.
I don't know that they
Some
should.
Some kind of negligent homicide, allowing her in, allowing her to get drunk.
To that level.
Not stopping her. Maybe. I've never seen a bar or a bartender or a bouncer.
So there's going to be charging a bartender would be very problematic, because you don't have to be the one, especially when you're a remarkably attractive young woman. You may or may not be the one that's actually getting the drink.
Yeah, we don't know if these guys were feeding her drinks.
Right. So charging an individual bartender would be problematic. Looking at the bartenders as a whole would also be problematic because a bar is busy and people are moving quickly. It's not the bartender's job to keep tabs on each. This isn't like some, Upper West Side saloon in cocktail. This is a happening nightclub in college.
To be clear, the carding facets, not for purposes of getting in, it's for purposes of whether or not she can drink or not.
Right. Let's pause right here. We got to check ABC News, our own local news. Traffic and weather. Legally Served continues next at 6:30.
So if you're on Facebook Live, if you think that she should have some accountability, chime in. If you think she shouldn't have accountability because of her age, chime in.
I saw this tweet. It was like a thread. You know how people like are like thread, and then they get on like a soapbox or whatever.
So a tweet about what?
A tweet about President Tate's letter yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw Morgan chimed in on that one.
But people are like, he's victim blaming. And I'm like, I feel like if you got that out of the letter, like grasping for straws.
How are they victim?
Who's that?
Yeah.
Because he's blaming it on alcohol.
No, I know him from somewhere.
He's not a mercy guy. I don't think so. Franz Borghardt.
Has she never talked to you before, Franz?
What?
He says that's a valid question. That's the most difficult question to ask. That's the question.
Did she pull that from the segment we just did?
No, I talked to them yesterday.
Oh.
You know, I get around.
No, I know.
We have an open relationship, you and I.
No, I know.
Too much? That felt like too much.
Too much.
Yeah, I don't know.
Gail and I agree on the rapes, although again, a defense attorney, not me, a defense attorney may argue, does she get raped if she's not there drinking? She doesn't. She doesn't get raped. She does not get raped if she's not there.
Stop.
I'm not arguing that.
No, first of all, there's degrees of rape, and this is third-degree rape.
Well, actually, they're now pursuing on grand jury first-degree rape, multiple people raping at the same time.
Oh, really?
Which carries life.
Okay.
It's a higher burden.
Is that let's talk about that a little bit later on in the segment, but is that an overreach, or do you just take what...
It certainly gives you the leverage to convince somebody to plead to something lesser.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing with that, though. Rape is rape, and you could forget about, like, oh, if she wasn't drunk, she would have been raped. Well, if she wasn't wearing that, like, if she wasn't drunk, then you don't rape someone regardless of how drunk and or passed out they are. Like,
She was raped because of rapists.
That's exactly right. There is no other blame anywhere. She holds no accountability for the rape.
I think she holds little to no accountability for the rape. My question about
what little
her self accountability for the homicide, if it is in fact a homicide, is if you're going to attribute liability to the bar, then that is a part of the conversation. That will be a part of whoever's trying this case one day. That is going to be a part of the conversation, and it's a difficult conversation to have, right? No. Because it's blaming a victim.
It is blaming a victim, but at the same time, though, that victim is old enough to vote. That victim is, while not an adult to drink, still an adult.
But also, like, what 19-year-old in college isn't drinking?
I see. I went through that in my head last night, and I'm trying to decide if that is a viable argument to say. No, because here's why. Here's why, Alondra, is all of them are doing it, but isn't it the same as telling your parents, well, my friends were doing it too?
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying that, like, what 19-year-old isn't drinking, but also, like, why aren't bars making sure that these 19-year-olds aren't drinking at their bar, you know?
This probably happens at the Tigerland bars, not just Reggie's. Guys, I used to be on the ABC board. This happens. Like, this happens.
Way more than gets reported.
Yeah.
And, oh, by the way, it happens so often where people get away with it, it's not going to be reported. Like,
and I think no matter how drunk you are, if you have sex with somebody who can't say, like, oh, yeah, I want to have sex with you, like, that's just
Eric says she has some responsibility, but responsible for her death and someone dropping her off near a road? Nope. I tend to agree with that.
She has responsibility for getting, like, drunk, but she doesn't have responsibility for other people's actions taking advantage of her that way. Like,
so here's the other thing.
If you see somebody who's messed up, you're
so
taking advantage
of the 4 people involved in this crime, one of them cooperated with law enforcement and basically told them everything that happened.
Yeah.
Assuming they're being truthful, does that person get less of a penalty than the other 3?
I mean, traditionally they should, right?
Right. I mean, that would be the argument. I think the 27-year-old defendant gets the most culpability. What do you do with the other ones that are younger.
27-year-old one is the one that didn't actually do the rape, though, as I understand it.
I see the problem with this overarchingly is we're getting nuggets of information. Until you have facts in a court of law, there's a lot of speculation.
But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by Abby.
Cooler temps are on the way. With your full forecast, here is WBRZ meteorologist Marissa Nuzzo.
Share.
637 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. 48 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Legally served with attorney Franz Borghardt rolling right along. All right, we've got that conversation took a number of different paths during the break. So where do you want to bring it coming back in, Franz? There's
one of the misconceptions is just taking a sidestep here. What can the gentleman that allegedly raped her be charged with? Well, they were arrested on third-degree rape.
Third-degree rape.
Which is basically raping someone who can't consent based on impairment. But now there's discussions of them being taken to the grand jury to seek an indictment for what's called first-degree rape, which is when multiple people rape someone at the same time. Kind of and I mean this, the gang rape.
Yeah.
What's the difference between third and first? Well, severity. First-degree rape carries life in prison upon conviction. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of talk, a lot of questions, people asking me, well, can these guys be charged with her death? If so, maybe under a felony murder doctrine, but that's problematic because, again, she gets hit by a car by walking around in the roadway. We don't know, and I'm just telling you the problems of the analysis. I'm not saying it's her fault. I'm saying we don't know what happened after she got dropped off.
Right. Okay.
So that's but for our purposes, first-degree rape conviction carries life in prison. Yes. So whether they're responsible for the death or not, that's the most severe crime.
They need to be in jail one way or the other, provided they're guilty of first-degree rape. But it's the 4 individuals that were arrested. They're going to see some level of punishment, some level of responsibility for this action.
Yeah.
What I want to keep us on the path of is those who maybe should have some level of responsibility but will not. Reggie's in Tigerland has already had their liquor license pulled or suspended because of this.
So I used to be on the ABC board.
Okay.
That is pretty. So if a crime happens on premises, mm-hmm. a crime of this nature happening on premises, mm-hmm. And again, I don't know where the rape occurred. So I don't know if it was the parking lot. I don't know if it was down the road. I don't know about that. But if a crime of this nature happens on premises, the license is temporarily suspended. That's not.
It was. I don't think it was on premises based on the way the story was written. Here, of the suspects, 18-year-old Kayvon Washington claims he and a 17-year-old friend had consensual sex with Brooks in the backseat of a car after they gave her a ride from the bar. So I don't think it occurred on premises.
Right.
Good.
So pretty standard. So let's go back through this. If it doesn't matter whether or not she was ID'd or not, well then, why are you prosecuting them other than for a misdemeanor failure to ID?
You're talking about
the
prosecuting
bar.
Reggie's? Yeah.
Right. The individuals in a bar. You can't prosecute. This isn't a white-collar case, so you can't prosecute Reggie's. You can prosecute individuals.
Well, Reggie's is an owner, though.
Right. Well, I was about to get there. Okay. So the people you could prosecute are the people at the door, the bartender, or theoretically an employee that should have stepped in, and then lastly, a manager/owner. The owner is the hard one, right? The owner, you could prosecute them maybe for the underage liquor sales, which is a misdemeanor, right? You maybe could prosecute them for some kind of negligence crime, but I mean, you'd have to show that there was gross negligence occurring at the bar. Now, this is Tigerland. This is Reggie's. Is that a leap? Maybe not. The bartender, I've never worked as a bartender. The bartender, it's problematic to prosecute them for a serious felony because again, if she's drunk and you're cutting her off because she's drunk, she's already drunk.
Okay, let's pause right there because it just so happens my producer has worked as a bartender.
There you go.
Alondra, how many times, I'm asking you a very specific question.
I have.
How many times, well, you're working as a bartender, have you seen people come to the bar to buy drinks for somebody who's not the person at the bar buying the drinks? Yeah.
You could always tell,
Okay.
and I wouldn't serve them.
Okay.
And I'm also was also very quick to cut people off if I felt like they were.
But you were cutting
overserving.
people off because they were already what?
They were already pretty drunk.
Yeah. Right. So whether you cut them off or not, I hope you guys understand. Do I think she should have been cut off? Absolutely. Do I think it would change the legal analysis? Not necessarily. And then the other side of it is, again, you need to have the full landscape of what's going on. Where are they sitting? Where are they drinking? Are the guys buying the booze? Is the 27-year-old buying the booze? It's very factually specific.
Foot traffic at the bar is going to be important in this as well. To be fair, Alondra, the bar where you worked, was this a raucous college bar?
It was not.
Okay. All right. So
There were college kids there, but it wasn't.
But it's not. You see the difference in vibe, though, that I'm talking about with the number of people like flinging dollars and credit cards around trying to get your attention. It changes the game from the bartender's perspective. So liability for the bartender, I think, drops greatly.
So if I'm a prosecuting entity, if I'm the coroner's office, I want to see a toxicology to see how that BAC gets as high as it gets. I'm not saying there's any proof to indicate that somebody slipped or something, but that high of a BAC, I have questions. And I want to know what else is in her system.
Right.
If anything would still be in her system by the time they do this toxicology.
Also a very good question because, 0.319. Well, maybe I'm showing my age here, but that's so far beyond
an old dude.
That's so far beyond nap time. It's not even funny. Like you have to try to get to that point,
or be a habitual drinker.
Also,
The only people that can function at that level, and I say this with love and grace, is people that drink a whole bunch.
So, but with that in mind, though, I mean, she's 19.
Yeah.
And an active college student, and by all accounts, successful and very not down the rabbit hole, by all accounts.
Listen, I didn't frequent these bars when I was in college, but these bars make a whole ton of money. And people go to these bars. A lot of college kids go to these bars. So my question is why do a lot of college kids, specifically underage college kids, go to these bars? Is it because they can get booze there?
So I don't know what the amount of money the bars make has to do with any of it. These bars make a lot of money.
They're very profitable to have those.
They're profitable. What does the amount of money they make have to like? You're asking the question of
resources to prevent this from happening. The more money, you cannot claim, well, we don't have the staff, we don't have the money to hire people and the staff to prevent this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They make, look, the Tigerland bars make good money.
No, I don't think it would be the resources. I think it would be, if anything, the workforce shortage.
That's an argument.
Yeah. That's complete speculation. That being said, though, you were walking down the right path with this in that, is it time to just get a full audit of, and obviously it's going to be, but every incident that's ever occurred at Reggie's, whether it's been, formal reports or not, as to whether or not, like how...
If you're pursuing a gross negligence, and why are we talking about this? Because we have been talking about this a lot, not just recently, but over the last few years. Like the Max Groover is a negligent homicide.
Yes.
Not going into the school, negligent homicide if you're a cop. We've been talking
That's where we're going to pick it up when we come back, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we will pick it up at that point when we come back. Also, let's talk about the difference between third-degree rape and first-degree rape. Are they overshooting this one? We'll take a break, come back. He's Franz Borghardt. We do Legally Served every Wednesday.
I also will say two things. One, we have been, like, I guess, investigated because this guy was drinking and driving after leaving the bar. And they did, like, investigate us or whatever, but we weren't held liable for that. Because he was, like, drinking and driving and then hit somebody.
Yeah, it's tough to pin anything.
Well,
I'll be back in a second.
So the issue is always they go to another bar, or do they go straight?
I also will say that because I knew I'd get in.
Right.
So yeah, like to your point of like, are they coming here because they know they will be able to? Yeah.
Going to Tiger Land because it's a classy, fun, established. I mean, it's fun, but it's not like a classy, like bougie.
Renee says there could also be
Yeah.
more than one bartender. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Usually, again, because like Long Branch was a very, very, very busy bar. Like it's not college kids, but it's very busy.
Right.
Yeah.
If you have a whole bunch of bartenders.
Also, like the bartenders talk to each other. Like we're like, oh, that person's super effed up. Watch out for them.
Provided there's time to talk.
What night of the week was this? Was this a Saturday night or Friday night?
I think it was Saturday.
What, this one happened?
Yeah.
Last Saturday.
Was there any sporting events going on Saturday?
It was back to school night. wasn't it?
Back. Oh.
Yeah, you had the big back to school. It's the same night that they had the shooting off College Drive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a back to school party.
So the problem is Byron says, I'm telling you, Tigerland should be thought of as a quarantine zone. The kids will go further out to bars and be in the roads drunk for longer if it's shut down. I don't know that shutting down Tigerland is going to stop behavior, bad behavior.
Gonna stop behavior.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to stop bad behavior. And yeah, there's a part of like having gone to LSU and having lived in Tigerland before I was 21, I could tell you firsthand, go to sports, it's easier to get into sports. Unless the Tiger was busy. Because if the Tiger was busy, you knew you could get past that bouncer without even showing an ID sometimes. But like 19 and 20-year-olds target certain bars simply because they know they can get in. Like that, or they know they can.
There's also this place called Boneheads in San Antonio that my brother and his friends would take me to because they were 21 and I wasn't. So they would take me only to Boneheads.
Get away with drinking,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And that's not going to change.
It would be called Boneheads.
So, like Max Groover, he was at the fraternity house, tragic incident, negligent homicide conviction because of the hazing component.
Yeah.
Right. Do you need to prosecute for negligent homicide on this or some kind of felony murder? Or is the rape sufficient? I don't think you can prosecute the bar. I don't think you can prosecute any of the bar employees for some kind of rape theory.
Yeah.
I don't think that works.
Morning, Randy. So there's a factor of this we're not talking about or haven't talked about yet, and
like
that
10
is
seconds.
okay.
You want to go to you?
We are counted down to Washington Mardi Gras. Be wheels up this afternoon, doing our show live from Washington Mardi Gras tomorrow and Friday.
My bad. I thought it was going to be a lot more time in between.
Yeah.
Do you like going to DC?
I would prefer to go to DC like with my family and enjoy it. This is work. This is 100% work.
Okay.
Like I'm probably the only time I'm going to leave the Capitol Hilton is to go back across the street to my hotel.
Okay. You don't even get to stay at the Capitol Hilton?
No, I get to stay at some place that has rooms that are like a hostel.
Lovely. It's probably for the best.
Well, it's like 2 weekends ago, I went to St. Louis for Idea Bank for this talk radio conference. I left we stayed at the Drury Inn that was right there by the Arch, right?
Right.
Like the Arch was 30 yards away from me for most of the time I was there. Here, I'll show you a picture. Like I'm sitting in a conference room And as they're doing the conference, that was the view from my chair.
That's awesome.
I know. But I didn't get to do anything.
It's beautiful.
Only thing I got to do?
I cut you off. What was the thing? I just cut you off again. What was the thing that we hadn't talked about?
Welcome to my life.
Only time I got to leave was to go do this.
Sugar Fire. What's Sugar Fire?
Really good barbecue.
Okay. Not a strip club.
Byron said, I didn't think it was possible, but it got cooler. First of all, it is possible. Second of all, why? Because I was a bartender?
Yes, because you were a bartender.
Well,
I think he meant it as a compliment. He thought you were so cool that
no. I didn't take it as a slight.
if you did, you'd be a lot cooler.
Hey, man, you got a joint?
Saying it's possible. Even cooler,
Green
I was
Knight.
also a cocktail waitress.
Mm.
It's the OG version.
Wow. Talk about when was the cover better than the original.
Right?
Holy crap.
It's way better.
I don't want to turn away. This is talk about the cover being better than the original.
did you not know that was a cover?
I knew it was a
Oh,
cover.
okay.
I just didn't realize it sounded like this. 652 Talk 1073 FM WBRP. A couple minutes left with attorney Franz Borghardt. It is legally served. We do this every Wednesday as part of Mornings with Brian Haldane. You know, we know where we want to go when we come back from break, and then things happen during the break that shift the conversation. I feel bad. Like, I don't want to leave the entire listening audience in the lurch here, but we gotta pivot because of a comment that literally just came in.
Okay.
Debbie says a gas station clerk gets a $10,000 fine if they sell to underage, but the authorities doesn't spot check bars? Question mark. I think they spot check, but you know
They don't get they don't always get a $10,000 fine. And I both represent businesses that are prosecuted the ATC state level, and I was on the ABC board. $10,000 fine. You have to earn the $10,000 fine. That's
Okay.
not normal.
all right. But that being said, it's still a different environment. Like
Right.
the level of business that's trying to hit up the bar at any one given point is going to be different than the level of business of like Be Quick.
So what's interesting to me is I was always honing, when I first read this story, is I honed in on the ID. And that's what I think is the most important. But if you talk to most citizens, the cutting her off is the thing that seems to matter to most John Q and Susie Q citizens.
Right.
Which I keep coming back to the point of, well, even cutting her off while she's drunk wouldn't have prevented the rape.
So that
She's already drunk.
Okay, there's any number of things that could have changed the timeline of events. This is just cutting her off could have prevented the rape. Cutting her, but there's a part of this that we haven't looked at yet, and that's multiple things have to happen for somebody to get this drunk, and one of those things is the amount of time before the alcohol actually kicks in.
Right.
Right. So if you're looking at pinning any liability on the bar, they can. Well, there's probably a credit card receipt for one thing, but for another, they could just as easily say, like, we only served her 2 or 3 drinks, right? If she's pre-gaming and is drinking for a good 2 hours before getting to the bar, she's going to be showing minimal signs when she gets there, and things will ramp up or escalate very quickly because of her actions outside of the bar.
If she was at a 3.6 when they ran her blood, it's possible and probable that her blood was higher at the time of the rape.
Yeah.
It was either going up or coming down. Most likely by the time they did the BAC on the field, it was going down. Mm-hmm. Makes sense, right? That's I'm not a forensic scientist, but that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Was she even conscious? Was she even conscious when they were having sex with her?
Doubtful. What's
on the now attorneys now look, these guys are presumed innocent. Mm-hmm. They're accused. They have not been proven guilty. And Ronald Haley, defending 2 of them, which is problematic, has said that there's video evidence that will show that their clients didn't do anything. So what's on this video?
The defense attorney says his clients didn't do it.
What's on the video? Is the video going to show her consensually doing stuff to the guys? Does that change the dial?
And this I'm glad you brought that up because this is the point I want to get to as well. You said they're now seeking first-degree rape, not third-degree rape.
Right.
To me, it feels like third-degree rape would be just about a slam dunk of a case as possible,
Third-degree rape will be a slam dunk.
especially if there's video.
So first of all, first-degree rape is multiple people raping at the same time.
Multiple people
Raping someone at the same time.
Okay.
Like the gang rape scenario. However, if you try them for first-degree rape, the jury can consider a lesser and included charges, what we call responsive, of third-degree rape. So you get 2 bites at the apple if you're the DA's office. The other thing about charging higher is it's leverage. You can say, hey, guys, you want to go to trial? You better win, because if you get convicted, you're going to go away for life. However, it could be a negotiating.
Third degree. Right. No, I get that. And tactically it makes sense.
The cleaner kill, as they say in hunting, the cleaner kill is the third-degree rape charge. That's the easier, more
that's
straightforward.
also if that's what the video shows, and that's what all the evidence surrounding this is suggesting to begin with. Like, are you? I always have a problem with playing some kind of tactical game versus just seeking justice.
Well, so justice in this could be first-degree rape, though. Because it fits
you're right. It absolutely could.
Yeah, it fits the elements. Now, so does justice also require you to think about the penalty on the back end? Well, yeah. I always ask, so when I was the prosecutor, I would always ask, where do I want these people to end? Mm-hmm. Like, where's the end result? Do I want time? Do I want probation? They're looking at time. The only one that I'm questioning is the guy that cooperated with the police out of the 4. What do you do with him? And then some of these defendants are younger. Some of them are younger.
Teenagers. One of them, we don't know his name because he's 17.
Yeah.
So, and at the end of the day, though, when we look at the 4 that are accused, those are likely the only 4 that are going to be accused. Those are likely the only 4.
I would be shocked going on record now. I would be shocked if the bartenders, anybody from them is charged with a crime.
Yeah.
Civilly liable? Maybe.
I don't even know about that, though.
Maybe.
Because it just...
You're much more comfortable having an idea. But here's the thing, though. I'm much more comfortable with them being civilly liable than criminally liable. But I've been saying for a long time now that I think we are overusing negligence and gross negligence in our country.
There's a part of this that I just can't seem to reconcile, and there's nothing in the law that's going to change it. And that is the multitude of people who could have just been a better person and reached out somewhere along the way. Yeah.
Troy asked, I know we're running low on time. Troy asked the question, how is she even standing up? How is she even standing in the street with that kind of BAC? There's something a little weird here, right?
No, I'm with you there. And more will be unfolded, and it's going to be painful to go through all of it because at the end of the day, a 19-year-old girl is dead.
Right.
It just...
And raped. Yeah.
Yeah. He's attorney Franz Borghardt. We do Legally Served every Wednesday. Always appreciate it, man.
No problem.